Alright folks, after the previous video about the most disappointing weapons I've had, I figured it would be only fair and appropriate to now make it about the best weapons. Now this is not going to be the absolute best ones, period, the favorite ones that I've had so far, because I have a feeling that the falchion that Matt and Ilya at Baltimore Knife and Sword are working on right now is probably going to earn its place on that list. So instead, this is going to be about value for money. I made a video about the top 5 budget swords a while ago, but that's kind of outdated at this point. And I also want to include other things for this one. So this is going to be the top 10 of weapons that I have personal experience with that are very affordable in general. So first up, spears. Of course, the spear is one of the most affordable weapons in history. This is the long-bladed hewing spear by Windlass Steelcrafts. Went for $35 US. It seems to be discontinued now. I've beaten it up a little bit. The part of the tip is broken off. It's not the greatest steel quality, or maybe it's the tempering, but I mean, $35. You can't really sneeze at that too much, can you? That was just a blade, so you have to haft it yourself if that's what you want. I mean, this thing is so long, this could basically act as a improvised short sword as well. But this also applies to other spears. Spears in general are very cheap, at least if you go for just the spear head itself and mount it yourself. If you go for the assembled ones, they're going to be a bit more expensive, and there's also going to be more shipping costs. But one of the cheapest options you can find is actually a butt cap. So that's just a spike, basically. And that's you can have that for 20 bucks. It doesn't get much cheaper than that. Very simple. The good old pointy stick that has been with humans and other hominids for as long as they've been around. Also very simple but effective is the Humble Club and its relative, the Mace. This is a steel mace head that I bought on Kult of Athena and mounted. Very, very cheap. There's other variants as well. You can have brass mace heads made by Todd Cutler. They go for between $30 and $40 US. The assembled ones are over $70, but still very affordable. Also, the one that I reviewed is this 16th century Italian mace by Windlass. As you can see, it's a little bit crooked because I did some abusive testing with it to see how well it would hold up. This is made with a hollow steel shaft, just like many of the historical originals. And yeah, you can see there's some damage because the tube dented at one point from smashing it vigorously against various things. And considering the price especially, yeah, no problem at all. The flanges themselves are brazed on, which is a very strong method of connecting steel, and these will hold up, no problem. This used to go for $85.50, discontinued now apparently, but again, there is a number of other variations, maces, warhammers, etc. They can be very affordable, and most of the time they will hold up. I'll post some suggestions in the description down below. Next up, sticking with the theme, the big old stick. Seems very minimalist, and is in some ways, but a well-made quarterstaff is quite a formidable weapon, actually. This one is made of hickory. Diameter is 1 1/4 inches, I think. Yeah, I use Imperial for once. It's from Purpleheart Armoury, and they give you the measurement in inches. Let's see, in centimeters. This one here is 2.5 centimeters in diameter, and that's what I would recommend. You know, at the very least 2 centimeters, 1 inch, but ideally more. The 1.5 inch ones will be even sturdier, and this is quite a hefty thing. This hits with a lot of authority. I made several videos about that, and again, if it's made of proper wood, which these are, the grain is flawless on this. Purpleheart Armoury is known for well-made staves. They have octagonal as well. They have different diameters. They have ash as well. Ash would be the historical option because they didn't have hickory in Europe, but based on my experience, hickory is even better. It's a very strong wood. So these cost about $40. I give you all the prices in US dollars despite living in Canada, by the way, because for one, most of my audience is located in the US, and also the stores that I'm linking to are in the US and have the prices in USD. So next up, for $40 to $50, you can have this, the United Cutlery M48, Generally, I stay away from tactical kind of stuff, and when I do approach it, it's cautiously, because a lot of it is just very, very gimmicky and just designed to look cool. It's just, the target audience is the camouflaged couch potato fantasizes about a zombie apocalypse and all of that. But this one was surprisingly good, actually. I mean, arguably it is a bit of a gimmicky design. It's not a regular tool for garden use or bushcraft or anything like that, but it was a lot better than I would have guessed, and it turned out devastating in the tests. It packs one hell of a punch, and it's pretty well put together. I was worried about the handle cracking or breaking, but it held up no problem. And the blade is thick enough that it can take a lot of abuse. It's a tough kind of steel that's not going to chip easily. If anything, it would bend, but it's thick enough that that's rather unlikely. So this is a pretty stout piece, very affordable, and tactical, but actually functional for a change. Next up, the Cobra Steel line I've mentioned before. They're owned by Windlass Steelcrafts, but as opposed to other Windlass blades, these actually come sharpened, and they're basically modern interpretations of historical types. They're generally made with plastic or rubber handle scales, so that's a kind of construction that you almost can't mess up, really. They're very strong. I did tests with the Kinjal, put up the review, and from what I've seen, other reviews, and looking at the other models that they have, they should perform very similarly, so I can generally recommend that series. They will set you back between $50 and $60, which is very affordable. And then for $65, you can have this sword here from Musashi, which is just called the Ninja Sword or Shinobi Sword. Great naming on that one. So this is the Hollywood version, basically, including the all black straight blade and all of that. Historical accuracy is generally not something that you will find on a list of affordable things. That's usually the first thing that goes out the window whenever corners are cut to reduce the price. They don't do a lot of historical research, or just cursory, or they will just deviate a lot from it in an attempt to save money, or just market to a certain audience, things like that. Anyway, so $65 for a sword is extremely dirt cheap, suspiciously so. But all things considered, I've tested and reviewed this one, and considering the price tag, it is surprisingly good, actually. It does cut. It doesn't come super sharp, but enough to cut tatami mats cleanly with good technique. And fit and finish is all right for the price. Again, you're not going to be blown away, but it's all tightly assembled. There's nothing falling apart, and it works. So it's not a lot of dough to fork over for what you're getting. Now we're entering the over $100 range with the Executioner from Zombie Go Boom, $125. Held up beautifully. It cuts well. It's a very short blade, but that's on purpose. The theme obviously is apocalyptic, zombie killer, that sort of thing. It's just meant as a fun blade that you can do backyard cutting with, or wreck one of the zombie heads. Although, if you're really looking for a budget blade, you probably won't be able to afford $150 for an Ivan head to destroy. But anyway, this is a good sword for the price. Then we've got quite a tank, the Dynasty Dadao by Condor, $130 for that one. And this is a very stout blade. It is based on the Chinese Dadao. It's just roughly modeled after it, not very accurate in the details, but it's a simple construction that holds up really well to abuse. It's really more of a brutal chopper that you could demolish cars with at a junkyard, as opposed to fighting with refined, sophisticated techniques, but it works. Then at the same price, again $130, is the Kopis from Devil's Edge. This, again, loosely based on historical ones. It's not terribly close, it's just the kind of the overall outline of the blade to an extent, and the handle is very different and all that. But once again, performed very well during the tests. Tight fit, very comfortable handle, well-shaped blade, cuts nicely, both tatami mats and water bottles, and wood chopping you can do with it easily too. Good material quality, all of that. This is definitely easy to recommend. And the final one on my list is pushing the price range quite a bit higher. We're at $250 now for the Viking sword from Ronin. This one is well worth the money. It's pretty difficult to find really good ones in, well, basically under the $500 range, frankly, if you want something really accurate, that is very well made and all. You have to pay quite a bit. There are a lot of Viking swords on the reproduction market which are very so-so, and this one held up well. Again, properly shaped blade. Not 100% on the accuracy, but reasonably close, and it was well made overall. Now, the other thing that I wanted to put on the same place in the list is the Hanwei Tinker Viking sword. This one was actually cheaper. It was $233, I think. And the only reason why I didn't put it instead of the other one is because I don't have first-hand experience with it. I haven't tested it myself. I have tested another Hanwei Tinker, which is the longsword, which was pretty good. And this one I've handled once in a store, so in terms of handling, it's great, and overall shape, it's more accurate than the other one, I would say. So I would definitely recommend looking at that, but again, it's not first-hand experience in this case. And finally, kind of an honorable mention, the Warrior Tachi from Yomikuni. This one goes for 588 Canadian dollars or 450 US. And that seems very cheap for the kinds of quality. In fact, I was testing another sword at the same time, and at one point I mixed them up in my mind, and I thought that this one, the Warrior Tachi, actually cost around $800 or so. And I thought, yeah, that seems appropriate for the quality. And then I double checked and I saw, oh, whoa, it is actually 450. So that is very, very affordable for this kind of quality. So it's not super cheap overall, but in terms of value for money, it is one of the best that I've tested. So as usual, I'll post all the relevant links down below. Check them out. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and have a good one, folks.